Alright, so here we have mock test version 2. So this is on functions and we have 3 questions to get through. So I'll be going through each question and explaining the thought process or what to expect from each question. So question 1 says the arrow diagram shown below represents the relation. Now this is just a notation and all this is saying is f of x is equal to x squared minus 2k. So that's all this is saying. Where x is an element, so this is just telling us that these are the possible x values. Now we can see this mapping diagram where we have our domain and over here we have our range. Now we know that the domain would represent the x values that we're going to substitute in our f of x function. The range is just the output values. So now the domain values are 4, 5, and 6, while the values of the range are 12, 21, and 32. Now this function represents the range, x squared minus 2k. So if we select an x value, we square it, then we subtract 2k from it, then we're going to get the corresponding y value per se. So for example, this is defined by the function x squared minus 2k. So what it is saying is that if we should take this 4, so if we should take the 4 and replace the x, so that would be 4 squared, then we should subtract 2k, the result is going to be 12. And once we are able to formulate such an equation, we should be able to answer part I of this question, which is asking us to calculate the value of k. So remember, the general function that we're working with is f of x is equal to x squared minus 2k. This is the general function that we're working with. So now when we select an x value, 4, we're going to say f of 4 is equal to 4 squared minus 2k. However, the question tells us that f of 4 is the same thing as 12. When you substitute 4 in the question, the result is 12. So that means 4 squared minus 2k is equal to 12. Then we can simplify. So this is 16 minus 2k is equal to 12. So let's transpose. So we're going to bring across the 16 over on that side. So what we have now is minus 2k, that's what's left on the left hand side, is equal to 12 minus 16. So now minus 2k is equal to negative 4, and we all know where to go from here. From this point, we simply divide by negative 2 on both sides. Then we can say, therefore, k is equal to positive 2. And we can test that theory. So now, if k is equal to positive 2, we can rewrite this notation up here. So this will now become x squared minus, so remember, minus 2 times k. So we know that k is equal to positive 2. So this is just x squared minus 4. I hope that is clear. So this would now be the function that defines all of these interactions here. So now we want to find f of 8. So remember, the original function that we had was f of x. So f of x is equal to x squared minus Now 2k, we just found that k is equal to 2. So minus 2 times 2. So that's how we get minus 4. So this function is what we're going to be using to solve everything. So now they want us to find f of 8. So we can simply say f of 8 is equal to 8 squared minus 4. We all know that 8 squared is 64 minus 4. So therefore, f of 8 is equal to 60. And that's how you'd go about getting your 3 marks. So you get your 2 marks there, 3 marks there. And we're almost finished with question 1. Alright, so now part 3 says we should find x when f of x is equal to 96. So if we want to find the value of x when f of x is equal to 96, this is how we do it. So now this is the general function that we have. F of x is equal to x squared minus 4. However, the question tells us that f of x is equal to 96. So what we're going to do is replace the f of x with 96, because that's what the question says. F of x is equal to 96, and that's equal to x squared minus 4. So from here, we simply transpose and solve for x. So we can bring the negative 4 over on this side. So it becomes 96 plus 4 is equal to x squared. So 100 is equal to x squared. So if we take the square root of both sides, x would be equal to 10. And that's how you'd go about getting your 3 marks. So that's it for question 1. Let's take a look at question 2. So question 2 says the functions f and g are defined as f of x is equal to 2x minus 7 and g of x is equal to x squared minus 6. So we're given two functions here, f of x and g of x. And they want us to calculate the value of f of negative 6 and g of negative 6. So these should be easy marks. All we're doing is substituting the value that they want us to substitute here. So f of negative 6 means that we're going to look at the f of x function. Wherever we have x, we're simply going to replace that with negative 6. So f of negative 6 is equal to 2 times negative 6 minus 7. So that's negative 12 minus 7, and that's equal to negative 19. And that's your answer. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now we need to find g of negative 6. So the same procedure. So we look at the function that defines g. So g of x is equal to x squared minus 6. All we're doing is replacing the x value with negative 6. So therefore g of negative 6 is equal to negative 6 all squared minus 6. So remember, negative 6 all squared. So there is a common misconception here where some students might have it like this, negative 6 squared, and they might put this on their calculator. If you do this, you're going to get negative 36. So you have to put the negative 6 on the inside of the bracket. That's how you're going to get the correct answer as positive 36. And we can think of negative 6 as negative 6 squared as negative 6 times negative 6. We know when we multiply two negative numbers, the result is a positive number. So that's how we do it. So negative 6 squared, that's 36, and that's minus 6 here. So our result is simply 30. And that's how you get your 2 marks. So far we've gone 2, 5, 8, 10, 12 marks. Not bad. Alright, so part B says find f. So this means they want us to find inverse. So they want us to look at the f of x function and find its inverse. Now, to find the inverse of a function, we use 3 simple steps. Step 1, we replace f of x with y. So that's the first step. Replace f of x with y. And remember, it doesn't necessarily have to be f of x. This could be g of x, h of x, k of x. Any particular letter can be used to define the function here. So we simply need to replace that with y. So what I mean by that is, so if this is the function, f of x is equal to 2x minus 7, we're supposed to replace the label here with y. Because remember, f of x is equal to y. That's another notation for functions. So we can classify this as y is equal to 2x minus 7. That's what it says in the first step. We replace f of x with y. So step 1 is complete. Step 2, we interchange x and y. So interchange means that we're going to swap the positions. So wherever we have y, we're going to replace it with x. Wherever we have x, we're going to replace it with y in that order. So if we're going to interchange x and y, our new equation that we're going to be working with. So from this equation, we're going to interchange x and y. So wherever we have the y, we simply write x is equal to, and then wherever we have the x, we replace it with y. So that's the second step. Interchange x and y. Wherever you have y, you simply replace it with x. Wherever you have x, replace it with y. It's that simple. So after we've done the second step, the third step is just to transpose to make y the subject. Alright, so the equation that we have is x minus 2y, well, x is equal to 2y minus 7, and we need to transpose to make y the subject. So that means we need to get rid of everything from around the y. So the first thing that we can remove is the negative 7 over here. And we can do so by bringing it across the equal sign. So when I bring a negative across the equal sign, this becomes positive. So this is now x plus 7 is equal to 2y. And we can see that the 2y, or the y, is being multiplied by a 2. So we can get rid of that by dividing by 2. Whatever we do to one side, we must do to the next side of the equation. So we can say, therefore, y is equal to x plus 7 over 2. And remember, we were looking for the inverse. So all we need to do now, once we make y the subject, all we need to do is to simply replace this y here with f inverse of x. Once we make y the subject, we're done. X plus 7 over 2. So this would be the inverse of the given function. So 3 simple steps. Step 1, replace f of x with y. Step 2, interchange x and y. Step 3, make y the subject. So you're just transposing to make y the subject. After you've made y the subject, you simply replace it with, or write, that's the inverse now. So all you need to do is to put f inverse of x, or whatever letter it is, g inverse of x, h inverse of x, and that's it. So now question 3, so this one is for 10 marks, and it's pretty straightforward as well. So we're given two functions, f such that x is mapped onto 8 minus x. So remember, all this is saying is f of x is equal to 8 minus x. So nothing fancy, that's all it's saying. And g of x is equal to x minus 5 over x plus 2. So we're given two functions, one in terms of f and the other in terms of g. So they want us to calculate g of 4. So this is the g function. And remember, if they want us to calculate a particular value of that function, all we're doing is replacing the x values with whatever number they want us to use. So g of 4 means that we're going to look at the g function. Wherever we have x, we're going to replace it with 4. So now g of 4 is going to be, so remember, replacing the x values with 4. So it is 4 minus 5 over 4 plus 2. So 4 minus 5, that's negative 1. 4 plus 2, that's 6. So therefore, g of 4 is equal to negative 1 over 6. And that's it, 3 marks. Now part II says, state the value of x for which g of x is undefined. So undefined means that that particular x value cannot be a part of the domain. And we can find this particular value by equating the denominator to 0 and solving for x. So we can simply equate the denominator to 0. So remember, we're looking at the g of x function. So let's analyze this g of x function up here. So the g of x function is x minus 5 over x plus 2. So we take the denominator of that function, which is x plus 2, and we equate it to 0, because we're trying to find what x value we cannot use here. If we use that particular x value, we're going to get 0 in the denominator. So we say x plus 2 is equal to 0, and then we solve for x. X is equal to negative 2. So that's your answer. Because if we were to put negative 2 here, we're going to get a 0 in the denominator, and we don't want that. We can't divide by nothing, by 0. So we can now say, therefore, the x value that makes this function undefined is negative 2. That's all. Equate the denominator to 0, then we solve for x. So therefore, x equal negative 2 makes g of x undefined. And that's it. 2 marks. Alright, so last part of this question and the last thing on the test is find the inverse of f of x, hence calculate the value of f inverse of negative 1. So what this wants us to do is, firstly, find the inverse of f of x. After finding the inverse, we're supposed to use that inverse to evaluate negative 1. So let me show you. So the f function from up here, So that's the f function we're going to use down here because it's a continuation. So we have f of x is equal to 8 minus x, and we want to find the inverse of this. Now remember the 3 steps. First step, replace f of x with y. So we're going to say y is equal to 8 minus x. That's step 1. Step 2, interchange x and y. So wherever we have y, we're going to replace that with x. And wherever we have x, we're going to replace that with y. So that's step 1, step 2. Now step 3 is to make y the subject. And I'm pretty sure we're all able to transpose to make y the subject from this. So if we need to make y the subject, we can do so by bringing the y over here. See that it's negative. So let's do that. So if we bring the y over on the left hand side, we're going to get x plus y is equal to 8. Because we brought the negative y over on this side. So now we can get rid of this x by bringing it across. So now we will have y is equal to 8 minus x. So now once we make y the subject, all we need to do is simply say that this is the inverse. So we found the inverse of f of x, and if you look closely here, the inverse and the functions are both the same. That happens in rare occasions, so it doesn't always happen that the inverse and the function are the same thing. That's a rare one. So now that we have the inverse, the question wants us to find what the function is, or what the inverse is equal to, if we were to substitute -1 in the inverse, right here. So if f inverse of x is equal to 8 minus x, and they want us to find f inverse of -1, so we're simply replacing the x value with -1. So this is 8 minus, remember the minus sign is here, x is -1, so this is 8 plus 1, and that's 9. And that's how you'd go about getting your full marks for that part of the question. Alright, so that's it, and that's what you should expect for the test: finding the inverse, substituting the value, undefined, and so on. So all the best.